All right, hello, and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine, and Coavera, formerly Pipeliner CRM. And I am delighted to be joined by Jürgen Dauk, who is in Hamburg in Germany. How are you doing, Jürgen?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks, John, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. And you're an industry veteran with over 25 years of senior leadership experience, certified NLP, master and coach, design thinking coach, SAFE 6 implementation consultant, and a university background in microelectronics. And now you're focused on helping organizations on their transformational journey, acting as mentor, advisor, and board member. And what we're going to talk about today is AI without transformation is failure. And one of the things, I mean, obviously, your 25 years experience, senior leadership, university background in microelectronics. Let's face it, you've seen multiple technology waves. So tell me, what is different about this, and what is similar, and what is different?
It's a good question. I would say what's very similar is that, take digitization, right? So when digitization started, companies were rushing into it, and as we said, is a digitized crappy process
Yeah,
is a crappy digital process, right? And
exactly.
I'm seeing exactly the same thing with AI today. So when I started, computers were coming up and they were changing how people were working. But the companies who were really adapting their ways of working, their organizational structures, and how they approach things were getting the biggest benefit out of it.
Mhm.
And I'm seeing exactly the same thing with AI today, but in a much quicker, much shorter time span.
Yeah, and let's face it. Part of the problem is that companies still have outdated structures, right? Organizational structures still very siloed, and I think this has even got probably the biggest impact on traditional development teams because this is highly disruptive.
Yeah, but not only on development,
Sure.
right?
Mhm.
So I was recently talking to a big automotive supplier, right? And they had huge pressure to get AI implemented in the company, right? And they've been working for 1.5 years under high pressure to get company AI rolled out,
Mhm.
right? So at the end of the day, they just extended their contract with an existing software vendor. So now
Mhm.
everybody had AI, but nothing was achieved, right? So people in sales and marketing were still doing the same processes, and when numbers were not great in sales, right?
Mhm.
Marketing got blamed. Marketing was saying sales is not closing, and the typical blame game,
Sure.
but they didn't really change the way how they are working. And as everybody's just busy, there was just enough time also to experiment.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the issue now is that looking at AI as just another technology, and hey, just layer it on top of our legacy systems, or as you said, on our legacy processes and the way we do things, and and sort of slow track a little bit the implementation of it because we want to be careful, and we want to we're very set in the ways we have done things, and now we're having to change. So let's just do a little layer over the top. And that just never really works, does it?
No, never. And I think what we have to learn or relearn is the experimentation part of it. Set some
Hmm.
time aside to try things out. So what can be achieved? Not just having a script, oh, this is the AI you're using, and this is the standard recipe, but give the people a bit of time and room to experiment. Set, for example, put a sales team in a room for 2 or 3 days, give them a coach with an AI background, and let them experiment. I mean, worst case is I I recently did an update to my website, And what I got was, I think in the first week, around 100 emails, right? All of them wanting to offer me services, and all the emails were AI written.
Mm.
Long emails, a lot of content, right? Just taken from the website. And it felt so bad. And you could see that everybody's jumping on this train, but really playing around with it, and experimenting and improving. I think that part is missing a lot.
Yeah, no, I do think I think that's right, and I think as you said as we talked about at the beginning, the whole centralized kind of top down, that that has to we have to move into, as you said, experimentation, into more flat structure. The other thing about AI is destroying demarcation and silos and stuff if you use it properly or if you adapt to it properly. And this is hard for people because people still love those silos, they still love their demarcations, they still love their command and control. So with your background, as being an implementation consultant and all of that, I mean, how do you help companies overcome that natural kind of reticence?
So for me, one part is really looking at, what's the background. So in
Hmm.
most cases, there is a good amount of fear
Yeah.
top down in the organization. So the biggest fear is losing control. And of course, you have to report back to your owners, be it
Hmm.
shareholders or venture capital. But then it really means, okay, what would the future state be? So first strategize about, what's the DNA of what you want to bring to customers, right? What are you there for in the world? What's your
Yeah.
vision and what's your mission? And then think from the ideal customer backwards. How would we, if we want to fulfill our vision, how would we be operating? And only then take it step by step and see, okay, why don't we start with one department or one area of our business? I wouldn't call it department because I would reassemble it in most
Hmm.
ways, right? How would a small team consisting of sales, marketing, customer success, product management, part of development, how would they work together? And what would they do to satisfy the customer's needs, to make them fans,
Hmm.
and to fulfill your vision? I think there's a big, if you don't have a real vision in your company and it's just marketing speech, right? And your true vision is just, I want to make as much money as possible.
Sure.
And it's difficult to really transform. And my prediction is that those companies who don't do this transformational work and don't start with a true vision will be outperformed by smaller, more agile companies easily.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, and like I said, I mean, you're correct. I think there's a lot of fear at the back of this, and obviously there's been a lot of fear mongering about AI. So it's natural that people are if they're being told all the time that their jobs are going to get wiped out, that there's going to be Armageddon and all that. Yeah, it's natural that people are going to be fearful. So I mean, part of this is getting people over that fear and embrace it, because it's like it's going to happen. You can't stop it. So it's while it's natural to be fearful, and it's natural, and the natural instinct of fearful people is to push back or to put up barriers, but it's not going to work. And I think that's
No.
the hard thing to get through to people, is that it may feel good in the short term that you're kind of holding, you're holding things back, but it's going to overwhelm you very quickly.
100%. And what I loved is, I read an interview with the CEO of Nvidia
Mhm.
recently, and what he said was just great. So he was saying, there's this great AI technology that is getting better every week,
Yeah.
right? And he said, if CEOs are only thinking about, how they can cut cost with AI, they lack imagination. He
Mhm.
said, and he explains it the way he said, "Look, you've got great people in your company. Now you have great technology coming up, right? If you put those two together, it must be amazing what you can achieve, right? Instead of thinking, oh, can I uh, can I save cost with pushing out more AI?
Mhm.
He was more talking about, with the creative minds of your great people, what could you achieve? And I think that's an interesting question. So, did you really lose imagination? Right? Are you only looking at, oh, we max short term,
Mhm.
or are you are you up for something? Are you on a mission? And would AI help you to just achieve more, achieve better, and build something greater?
Yeah, and I think that's the really good the point is that you have to start looking at it like that. You have to start looking at it at wow, this I mean, because at the end of the day, most people want to be creative. They want to exercise their brain power, their creative instincts, and all of that, regardless of what role you do. You want to do it to the best of your ability and all of that. And now you have that opportunity that you have this technology that will allow you the space to be creative. And I think that's what people are kind of a lot of people are missing. They're looking at it as a threat as opposed to, as you said, as an opportunity to elevate the kind of work, to the creative work that you can do to make yourself even more valuable. And frankly, I mean, I don't know about you, but quite frankly, it's a lot more enjoyable.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, I I would say about 2 months ago, I had a discussion with a senior tech guy of a company that I'm consulting for. And we had a debate about how good AI is on coding. And
Mhm.
he was arguing certain things can't be done, right? So instead of just reading about it, I said, well, I'm not a programmer, but I want to find it out. So I set aside some time, you know, downloaded Visual Studio, implemented or put Claude Code in it. And I
Mhm.
wanted to understand, would I be able to go from a basic idea of a product to a fully functional, tested product? Could I do that or not?
Mhm.
I wanted to understand, where is technology really? And I was able as a non-programmer to build a software in a week or so. And it was quite complex software, right? With 3D visualization of AI generated data.
Yeah. So if you're currently if you're currently a software developer, right? And they just take the example that you just used there, right? I've got two choices. I can go, oh no, my job is gone. I'm through. Like Jurgen can do this without being a programmer, or I can say, great. I can now leverage AI for all that stuff, and now I can move myself up a level and start to even be more creative in what I can do and really push AI and push AI to the limits about how. So it's a different approach. It's the fantastic. This allows me to move forward and to do things that Jurgen's not going to be able to do because he doesn't have the background that I have, and I know. And if I leverage AI to the max, I'm going to be able to produce wonderful things. Or I just sit there and go, oh dear, it's over.
Yeah, 100%, and that's for all job types, right? And
Mhm.
it's similar to when computers came up,
Yeah,
right? Some of the old job types were gone,
yeah,
right? The job profile is changing. I think what doesn't change is, your creative mind, your background, your experience can be brought into that, but things are changing. What I cannot understand is if people just try to sit it out, right? I
yeah.
was recently talking to somebody he's he's a controller, right? A financial controller
Mhm,
in a mid-sized company, right? And I asked him, what did you try out with AI so far? And he said, well, I asked ChatGPT a few things, but that's it.
mhm,
I said, look, the job that you're doing right now, I mean, the tasks you're actually doing. on a daily basis, they'll be gone.
Yeah.
He's 49 years old, and I said, "Well, until retirement, that's a good 17 years. We can argue how long it takes until your job type is gone.
Yeah, yeah.
But it might be 3 years, it might be 5 years, but certainly not 17, right?"
Mhm.
And he was shocked, and I was saying, "Well, look, there's new opportunities, right? You can do a lot with AI, but you need people who understand, financials and
Mhm.
AI. But if
Yeah.
you're just waiting, right, then it's a bit like musical chairs, right? There's fewer and fewer jobs that are just doing financials
Yeah.
and more that need AI and financials. If you're the last one standing, right, who's only
Mhm.
trained on financials,
Yeah,
good luck.
you're good luck, exactly. I mean, you're an NLP coach and mentor, right? A master and coach. How much of this then comes down to mindset and being able to, help people through this intellectual and an emotional change?
A lot, I would say. So, a lot of how people are acting is based on past experience, trauma, a lot of fear was programmed in the past.
Mhm.
So, a good portion is really addressing those uncertainties and you know painting a picture that they can process, take to heart, and at the same time lower the barriers by making it less scary.
Mhm.
So I think the people side is big if you want to do a transformation. So one is really establishing a vision, but the other is
Mhm.
really taking away fear. If you get more autonomy in your decision power, right? But you're
Yeah.
still sitting on that fear, and your past job experience tells you you better ask your boss first, right? Otherwise, you're at high risk. You'll never make autonomous decisions.
Yeah.
So addressing both is super important.
And it's kind of, what I find kind of a little ironic, Jurgen, is Um, I don't know what your age is, but I'm just talking about my own, right? So, I mean, coming from the pre-internet days, right? Coming from, the dinosaur era, pre-internet, pre-mobile phones, all of that is us more seasoned people. We've been through dramatic changes before, right? We've been through, the computers, right? Then the internet, then cloud computing, all of this kind of stuff. Uh, and so I think it's a little harder for the people who maybe have 10 or 15 years experience or something in business, because they've lived in a, yes, there's been technology changes and stuff, but they've lived in a world where, with kind of quite a lot of certainty, and how we're, they haven't been through the transformations maybe that we have, and I think maybe that makes it easier to adapt. And that's why I think a lot of those people need a lot of help, because they have not gone through a massive change like the type of changes we've been through before.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And I think certainly not at that speed. I think
Hmm.
even for us, as we've seen, as you mentioned, computers, internet, social media coming up, but this speed of adoption is is even scary for us, right? I
Sure.
mean, it's
Yeah.
really tough to keep up with the level of change that is coming at us.
Hmm.
So, yeah, but certainly right. I think have a lot to give for the generations that are not used to that amount of change, and we can help with our experience.
Yeah. So, what would be your one piece of advice to an organization that maybe is kind of playing with AI, but they're doing what you said? They're not really addressing structure. They're not really addressing silos. They're just trying to sort of go, "Hey, start using some of this AI stuff and do stuff quicker and faster, and maybe save us a little bit of money."
There's two angles to it. One could be that you first get your vision and mission really right so that it inspires you and your people. and
Mhm.
then think what's from the customer. The other advice is start in an area, look at, what are we doing on a daily basis? And if we could reinvent that portion of our business, be it a process or a way of working, what would the new be? Not
Mm.
just, oh, we take a process, write down the steps of the process, and then we train AI on doing exactly that process.
Yeah.
Does Is the process truly great? Does it serve a good purpose towards a customer, or is it just internal? Do we really need it? What would our customers say? If we think it from the customer backwards, right? What would
Yeah.
be an ideal way of handling things?
Yeah,
That
no, and
would
I think
be,
that yeah,
yeah.
I think that's the best way to start, and also to try and have it touch as many internal groups as possible so everybody sees some benefit for them.
Yeah, I mean, probably ask your teams, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Where do you see things not working, and how would you like them to be in the future? What do you think? And also ask your customers. One thing that I'm seeing a lot is, all your knowledge about your ideal customer profile comes from huge amounts of data, and millions are spent on,
Mhm.
building great avatars and having great data model. But do you also verify that with talking to customers? Most
Mhm.
of companies don't have that time, so they have their
Yeah.
assumptions. But, sometimes talking to a customer would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and talk about um, low tech, high return, right? Just actually having a conversation with somebody, but the return on it is yeah, because you can do all this, you can plow through data, you can do all of that stuff, but there's no substitute from getting it from the horse's mouth, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks so much, Jurgen. This has been fascinating. All of Jurgen's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about what you do.
Well, I consult companies in transforming from traditional structures into more agile ways of working and building better places to work for with more fun.
That's it. And why shouldn't it be fun?
Yeah, it will be more profitable if people have more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, thanks again, Jurgen. Thank you for watching and listening,
Thanks.
and I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.